All right, cool. It's being recorded. So, going to be talking about zones, game plan, and then we'll go over orders as well. So, let's actually start with the easy stuff. Let's kind of talk about orders, right? There's multiple different types of orders, right? There's limit orders, there's stop limit, there's trailing stop, there's market, there's ask, there's a bid. There's a lot of different orders that we could use. Now, the main ones I usually just use, and again, I know a lot of us in here are visual learners. So I'm going to kind of show you guys a picture here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see and change my screen here so it looks all fancy. Give me 5 seconds. Cool. All right. And then let me change it over here as well. Hold on, guys. Okay. So orders, right? We have obviously the bid, sell limit, buy stop, and sell stop. All right. So obviously majority, right? I usually use probably 9 times out of 10. I usually use market. Now it doesn't actually have it in here, but it's just a buy market. Buy market pretty much means the second you hit it, you're just gonna get filled at the immediate price that the market's trading at. 8 times out of 10, I usually do buy market. Now, if I'm adding to my position, so for example, if I'm already hit buy market, I'm in a, let's say, half size position, and then I'm looking to add more size or add more to my trade, I will always go in at limit orders. Okay. And a limit order pretty much means, and this is kind of a good example here, is you put it at a price that you want it to go to get filled at. So if I'm at a buy limit, so I would want it to, obviously, just like an example, here's current live orders right here. You want it to get to that price before it triggers you into the trade. Okay, and I usually only use buy limits, right, when I want to add to my size. Okay, and then what you can see what says buy stop. It's the exact same thing, but it's going to be reversed, right? So it's going to be when you want to get stopped out of the trade, right? When you want to put a stop order in, stop meaning when you're wrong or the trade goes against you, you want to get stopped out. So it's called a buy stop, okay? And you guys are going to kind of see that on TradeAvate. It says buy limit, buy stop, okay? On those prices, right? And then you can see it says sell limit, same exact thing, but it's reversed. Okay, buy limit meaning you want to go long, sell limit you want to go short, kind of like in the market. You want to go long, you want to go short. Okay, now another very, very big thing I want to talk to you guys about, and I'm actually going to go ahead and screenshot this real quick. Let me rechange my stream here, and I'm going to pull up something so you guys can kind of see visually as well, kind of what I do as well. Give me a second here. I'm just logging in. I'm gonna take a screenshot and show you guys all the order types that I currently use as of right now. So let me pull it up here. I'm gonna put the screenshot as well inside of the chat right here so you guys can visually see it. Okay, here we go. Paste it. Cool. So if everybody's looking at the chat, we can see that you can see it says buy market, buy bid, sell ask, right? And then on next to it, it says exit and market and cancel. Okay, so you guys can see that. How do I use this? Now, if I want to go long, right, I'm always going to go buy market. If I want to go short, I'm going to go sell market. Now, if I want to add to my position, I'm going to put a buy limit, all right, well, kind of what we talked about. If I want to add to my short position, I'm going to do a buy stop, okay? Now, when I exit my positions, right, I'm going to be using the bid and the ask every single time when I exit a trade, unless it's going against me. I just want to immediately panic sell. Then I'm going to use that gray button where it says exit, market, and cancel. I will only use that button if it's like, okay, trade's wrong. Let's get out. Okay, then I'll hit that button. It cancels everything, gets you out of everything. Now, if I'm in a position, right, and let's say we're in a long position, right, and I want to get the best fill possible because you guys know the market, it's jumpy, right? If you just go buy market and then want to get out and hit sell market, you're going to get a terrible fill, and you might miss out on 5 to 10 points, right? So let's say we hit buy market and we want to get out. I'm always going to hit sell ask, every time. Now, if I'm doing a short position and I hit sell market, I'm always going to do buy bid. It's kind of like diagonal when you guys go in and go out of positions, okay? So if you guys have any questions about orders or anything, let me know or direct message me and I'll clarify that, okay? Moving on, right? Moving on to actually zones. Now, I know Raphael kind of talked about there's an easier way to be able to, that's why I'm gonna make this a line thing, is an actual easier way to chart out your zones or your support resistance levels, okay? And so if you guys are looking at the chart here, you guys can see that I changed the chart into a line graph, okay? Now this is only, I say only use this if you're struggling to identify zones and you're struggling to identify support and resistance. If you guys are fine with support and resistance and are kind of grasping zones, there's no need to use this. This is only for people that are really struggling. So what you should do and how you should do it is you guys can easily see the support and resistance levels on this line graph right here, right here, right here. Look at that. Look how easy it is to identify those levels. It kind of pops out at you, right? It kind of pops out your face. We have one here. Okay, we have a little one here, right? So you can do the exact same thing. So if you're struggling, pull up a line graph, chart out your support, chart out your resistance levels, see if that's better for you to identify those moves, okay? And so if I go to the 1 minute here and zoom on in here, what time frame should we start off on that? Again, same thing, higher time frames, 15, 30-minute time frames, like 30, 15, 5 minute, okay? You can see I kind of could fix these lines here a little bit. I didn't do the best job at making them, okay? We can kind of fix these a little bit. And now what's really cool is it's kind of help you identify zones. And I kind of had a one-on-one with a student today, and we're kind of talking about zones and how to make it better and make it more understandable. Think of a support zone, and then think there's a resistance zone and there's a support zone, just like support and resistance. There's a thing called support zones and resistance zones, okay? So a support zone is going to be, and drawing these zones, think of it as two support levels back to back. So here's a support level right here. Where's the most recent and next level support? Right there. So we just have two levels of support we just made, 1 and 1, right? So we can go ahead and draw a zone. And that's what a support zone is. Two levels of support, right? Close to each other. Here and here. Boom. Oh, if it actually wants to work for me. Hold up. Let me change my tool here. There we go. Okay. Boom. And boom. We just drew a zone, right? And let me kind of move over back to, and it might actually help being able to draw this on the line graph. I'm going to go change my line graph back to candlesticks here. There we go. Okay. So I am late. Just got here. No, you're good. So look at that. We just drew a zone, right? And now we can I'm going to kind of clear. So how do you remember the zone that we made this morning and it tapped into the zone perfectly and then changed direction? Right, I told you guys I'm not interested in any type of short position unless it breaks below that zone. Never did, and that's where we caught the longs and made some money, right? As we can see, what is we going to do to draw a support zone? We're going to draw two levels of support. So let's go to the 5 minute time frame here. What are the two levels of support? We have a resistance zone right here, right? We have a resistance zone right here. Makes sense. Broke past that level of resistance. So what should this line be, guys? Support. If a resistance level breaks, it should be support, right? Where's the next level of support after this, guys? Right here. Okay? So that being said, how should we draw our zone? Just like so. Boom. Right? Are you guys following? Boom. There's our zone. We can go back to the 2 minute time frame, zoom on in here, and look how we drew that. Right? Came right into the zone, tapped into it, changed direction. Okay? And I think you guys should definitely be using zones because just using lines, guys, is like a 60 to 50% win rate if you just use lines. If you add lines with zones, your win rate could be up to 90+%. I showed you guys my stats last week. I had a 93.4% win rate, guys. It's crazy. That means I only lost 7% of the time. Okay? which is crazy. So again, highly recommend you guys using zones. Now, we just drew a support level. Let's go ahead and draw another one, right? How are we going to do it? A support zone. Well, here's support right here. Where's the next level of support after this? Right here. And we can actually go to the most recent one. We'll put it right here. Cool. So we have support here. We have support here. I just drew another zone, right? So all we're going to do, get our tool out, zoom out here just a tad, and we're going to draw our zone, okay? And there we go, right? And so that's how we do it. Now let's do some type of resistance levels, right? Same exact concept, but it's going to be resistance, okay? So let's pull it up here. Is that a lower high? Is that a higher low? Yeah. But again, drawing zones has nothing to do with trend, right? This is like a different type of concept. Like, we want to make sure we identify zones with trend, but they have nothing to do with each other, right? So don't focus on trend with zones. That's going to confuse you, all right? But yeah, technically that is a higher low, right? But it's still what? Support. It's still support. So don't focus on higher lows or lower like trend or anything with drawing zones. And you recommend drawing these zones at 15. I say start on the 15 and work your way down. Okay, if it's too hard to identify a zone on the 15, then go to the 5 and so forth. If you really want to go to the 30-minute, I say the farthest time frame you should zoom out to is a 30-minute. Okay, 30, 15, 5, 2, 1. All right. So let's go ahead and draw a level. Let's do a resistance zones, guys. Okay, so obviously we have a level of resistance here. We have a level of resistance here. Cool. We just drew another zone, right? We just got to draw another zone. So what are we going to do? Get a rectangle tool out here. Boom. Boom. You see that? So look what happens. We break past this level, comes back into this zone, right? And then comes right back off. Perfect potential entry for longs. Okay? We can draw another zone right here, right? We can do another one. We can do resistance. Resistance. Right? This is a tighter zone. There's going to be different now. So, Will, what is better? Short, small zones or big, large zones? Doesn't matter. Right? Just like support and resistance is going to be different. There's going to be bigger and smaller supports and bigger and smaller resistances. It doesn't matter. But this is still technically a zone. We just made another one, right? Are you guys following me, right? Does this make sense? Zones are just 2 levels of resistance or 2 levels of support. That is it. There we go. We just drew another zone. Look what happened. We broke. Closed above it. Look what happened after this. Boom. Then it came back down, retested it, came right back up. So if you guys are able to draw these zones, your win rate is going to improve dramatically. And do you only take trades when you break out of the zones? No. Right? And now this now comes back with drawing zones. There's a little bit more that goes into it, right? Now, first off, I don't want to jump too far ahead of it. You guys should first practice just drawing the zones. Once you can really master the accuracy of being able to draw the zones, then the next step is to identify trend. So step 1 is for you guys to identify zones. Once you can master and draw a zone perfectly, right, the next thing is then to identify trend. Now, just like for example, right, when market was ripping here and I had my zones, right, we had our zones right here, I said, okay, let's wait for a pullback. Not interested in any type of, not interested in any type of short position unless we start forming lower lows, lower highs, and get below this zone. And that's where trend comes in, guys. We have to use the zones in conjunction with trend, in conjunction with price action, and in conjunction with support and resistance levels. We have to do all of this simultaneously. And then create a game plan, then with leverage, and then stop losses. And that's where it starts getting confusing. If I just break down, boom, that's a zone, simple. But you guys have to master one thing and then move on to the next. If you guys start trying to learn support and resistance, then you guys start trying to learn zones, and then you guys start trying to learn trend, and then you start learning price action, and then you learn volume, and you try to do all this at the same exact time, you're going to be a lot more confused, a lot more frustrated, and it's just you're going to want to quit. And it's like, oh, this is too confusing, and it's not worth it, right? So my thing is start off with one thing, zones. Second thing, trend. Third thing, price action. Fourth thing, volume. Fifth thing, risk management psychology. Okay, and that can be it with leverage and all that stuff. Did you hope with zones, or is it completely different? No. What are zones again, right, Scarlett? Zones are support and resistance levels. What is my algo? Support and resistance levels. Okay, so I don't want you guys to say, oh, support resistance and zones are different. They're the same thing. There's no difference between a support and resistance level than a zone. The only thing is it covers more, it gives you more accurate answers, right? So if I could see right here that, oh, look, we have support right here, guys, right? We have support right here, right? Or, hey, guys, we have support right here. How do you know which support level to take? You don't. All right, you can guess, but you truly don't. But if you have a zone here, right, it will help you say, okay, cool. Instead of this being two different lines, it's one zone, and then this is going to give you a lot better of an understanding when to enter or not enter a trade. So again, do not focus on zones as completely different than support resistance. They're exactly the same thing. So I'm not teaching you guys a new concept. I'm not teaching you guys a new strategy. We're just drawing it to make it more accurate so you guys are able to have better entries, better understanding of market direction, and better understanding of stop losses and take profits. That's it, right? So again, I don't want you guys to get confused, say, oh, zones are a completely different substance of trading. No, exactly the same thing, all right? But if you're struggling, draw your 2 levels of resistance, 2 levels of support, and then fill it in and see if it makes sense. Like when we have the zone here, this makes sense. Look at that. We close above it, we come back down, retest it, continue, right? And then after we are able to draw our zones, the next step is to then identify trend, right? Just because this taps into a zone, does this give us all the answer? Okay, it taps into a zone. Cool. Do I go short? Look, a lot of people, they don't understand, right? Oh, do I go short now? We're forming, maybe we're dumping a potential lower high. Oh, we have to add context to it, okay? It's kind of like saying, oh, here's coffee beans. There you go. Well, is that coffee? No, that's one ingredient to make coffee, but you need more stuff to actually formulate coffee, right? Same thing with trading. I know it's a terrible analogy, but it makes sense. Okay, so you guys can see we have a zone here. Market shot up very aggressively, market open. Okay, so I'm like, okay, we're going to be overall bullish. We're trading above the VWAP. We're trading above the 200-day moving average. We have a massive push to the upside. I'm leading for bullish momentum. Okay, then when the market started selling off, I'm like, okay, let's wait for it to get back into the zone, right? And if we get back into the zone, we can see what price action does. And what does it do? Now this is giving me context. We never closed below the top level of the zone, which is a good thing for buyers to step back in. Buying pressure came back up. We took the trade long, right? This is the trade this morning. We took the trade long on the break here, and then we made our money. To the next what? To the next zone, right? We identified buying pressure coming up. We identified trend. We identified volume, right? We took our trade at a clean point that has room to the next zone, and then we made our money. And that's all we do. Now, it seems simple, but the hard part is identifying all of this simultaneously in a matter of seconds. Now, that's why we draw our levels before market opens, so we kind of do half the work already for us, right? Now, while the market's moving, our job is to identify trend and price action. We already got the zones. So now our work is trend and price action. Now, if you're trading later in the day and the market's moving, it can be a little harder trading later in the day. Why? Because now we don't have preset zones. We have to make new zones. Why? The market's moving. Zones change. So that can be harder because then we have to draw the zones while the market's moving, while trying to identify trend, and then doing everything at the same time. Okay. Questions? Everybody make sense? Is anybody confused in here? Or is this all kind of clicking and it's like, oh, okay, well, now all I have to do is practice this. Okay, well, I understand what you're saying, but now all I have to do is practice this, right? So again, we could even do, and to practice this, guys, you don't have to just do NASDAQ. Go to like Tesla, Facebook, Google. Like, let's go to, I don't know, Facebook, Meta, right? Here's Meta. We can practice drawing our zones on Meta. Go to the 5-minute time frame, right? Clearly, we have multiple key levels of. Can you do like more examples on gold? Yeah, we can do more examples on gold. Yeah, I got you. Let's do gold actually. Boom. Wow. Look at gold just ripping to the moon here. But here's gold, right? Now let's say market hasn't opened yet, right? Okay, let's see what we have on pre-market, right? We have resistance. We have support. We have resistance. We have resistance, right? We have support. We got support. And now see how I'm drawing all these lines here? Does this kind of look confusing? This just looks too much in your face. Oh my goodness. Which ones do I look at? How do I read that? Which one do I look for? What is like that just looks disgusting and hurts my brain. But if we get rid of all of this and just draw what? Zones, look how much cleaner this is going to look and to make our decision. Okay? Hold on. Drawing tool. And here we go. Watch this. Okay? This is going to make so much more sense. Okay? Hold on. Okay. Let's go back to the 2 minute. Zoom on in here. Now we got our zones. Now look at this. Look how accurate this is. We break above the zone. And now see how less cluttery it is? And then in the meantime, we can go ahead, and this is bad PA on gold anyways, we can then draw our miniature, once we are in a smaller time frame, then this is where we can draw our lines. We have our main zones. Now we can draw our lines. Okay, cool. Market opens, right? We hit this, we sell off. Cool. Okay. Oh, we're going into the zone here. All right, let's see what happens. Right? We're trading above the 200. Cool, cool, cool. But again, this is a bad example because gold today was just ass. Like, that's terrible PA, right? You guys can see no matter how good a strategy may be, if you're in bad price action, it's going to be difficult to trade, right? You guys can see we're trading above the 200. We crack below the zone. We're consolidating. We break past the zone. We form looks like a lower high here. And then I know where we dump or we shoot up to the upside. Well, again, we have to look at the VWAP and 200-day moving average. We don't take shorts unless we're trading below the 200-day moving average of the VWAP. So you guys can see we tap back into the zone here, right? We close above it. And now, do we ever get a retracement? No. But here is an opportunity. We hit this previous level resistance, form that higher low, take the trade back into zone 1. So this is where it gets difficult. Formulate a game plan. When do we take the trade? The only trade that makes sense here would be a long at 403.83 and take profit at high of zone right here at 402.92. And how did I find this zone? Pre-market levels. Okay. So again, in gold, this would have been the only trade. Longs here, TP here. This doesn't make sense. Consolidation, never close below it, finally close below it. What I would have wanted to see short here would have been a lower high and then take the trade short here. So we don't want to see that lower high and that continuation of the downside. Did that ever happen? No, we should have never taken that trade. When do you draw the zone? It looks like you're coloring in areas of consolidation. No, I'm not coloring in areas of consolidation at all. That's just my levels of support and resistance. But for the example of gold, it's just consolidating. That's it. See how drawing these zones kind of clearly map out when to enter and when not to enter a trade? Compared to when we drawing those 15,000 lines that I just drew earlier. What makes more sense to trade? Having 15 lines on your screen or having 3 zones and then maybe 1 or 2 lines on your screen and then identifying trend, volume, risk management. That's it. Now all you guys have to do is practice that. Okay? That's all you got to do. So do not, if guys, go ahead and DM me your pictures of your zones. If you guys take a picture of your chart and I see 30 lines on your screen and I can barely see the candlesticks, that's a problem. If you have no lines on your screen and no zones on your screen, that's a problem, right? So the biggest thing is practice, practice, practice. How do you get good at this? Cool, I'm teaching you guys the material. Now you have to go practice it. Just like in any type of school or whatever. You teach them the curriculum and then they go practice it. That's why it's homework. You guys have to have homework in trading. If you guys do not practice this, you're never going to get better at it. Okay? Sit in front of your computer. Chart out Tesla, Facebook, Amazon, random stocks. Draw out their zones. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just practicing drawing the zones, drawing trend, identifying the trend. Okay? And then after you're doing that 1,000 times over, it's just going to start clicking and becoming common sense to you guys. Okay? Is that all making sense? Questions, comments, concerns? Anything else? Scarlett, want to add anything?
Yeah, that bottom zone that you have on the screen right now.
This one?
How did you get that one?
Yeah.
What was the point?
Pre-market. So you can see this is pre-market lows right here, right?
Okay.
And then you can see the top of it is the next level of support right here. So
How do you identify that as the next level of support? Is it because the candles don't close above that level?
Because it's just the next level of support, right? This is support right here. The next level of support or resistance is where? Right there. That's it.
Right? It's right before the candles. Where the candles end?
For where obviously where you can see resistance, right? This is all resistance. We hit this level, what happens? We sell off. We hit this level,
Oh,
we
I
sell
see. I
off.
see.
We come back up, breaks it, acts as support. So this is just coming again, going back to the same thing. It's just support and resistance, but you're just
And
drawing
you
this.
mark
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
you rested the line on the top of the candle, not the wick,
Well, that's because that's what how
right?
I'm. Yeah, again, I'm just doing it based on how many times it touches, and that's why I don't want to get
Okay.
confused with it because I wouldn't really do this. It'll just be the zone that I'll be doing it for. So if I do the zone on that, that's I just did 2 lines to make it look how I got there, but it'll just be like this. Let me zoom in here. Candle. So the bottom of the rectangle will be the very bottom wick. The top of the rectangle will be the very top of this wick, or the next, or the most recent point of how many times it touches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So if
Like
I
the
just,
okay.
yeah, you see.
Like
So
the
if I,
body of the candles, how they never closed above a
yeah,
certain
but again, I don't draw the
level.
zone on the body. It's just in this example here, right? We can see that we have multiple touch points. So that's why I would draw it at this level when it starts pushing up. See how we broke it? And I'll touch it at this level here, not this level. But you can see how it lines up with everything else. Because this is the next level of
Okay.
support right here, right?
So it
Resistance,
kind of
support.
marks a break of structure too,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And that's why
Okay.
using zones is super valuable. Like if I drew a zone here though, like here's another zone, right? I would actually, this is support, that's support, this is support. But when would I draw it? I would have to draw it all the way down here at the beginning of the support. So at this wick, and then I'll draw it all the way up to here. So here's another zone, right? How did I get that? I drew the top of the rectangle all the way where the top point of the support was taking off. So right here. And then it went off. So that's the top of the zone. And then here's the bottom, the beginning of the zone, the trend right here. So here's another zone, right?
Price is just bouncing, bouncing, bouncing until it breaks from that
Yeah,
point,
and
from
that's
that
why.
level.
Yep, exactly. So I wouldn't even take a long. I mean, this is pre-market, but I wouldn't even. That's why you can see. Look what happens when we actually go into market open, and it's not going to be 100% accurate, but you can see how look how close it gets to the zone, comes right back up, and that's where we have context clues because nothing is going to be 100%. You have to just use the data you got, get it as close as possible, and then just rely on trend, volume, and key levels. So if I saw it get close to this, and I started shooting up here, I would probably take a long position somewhere in this area because I saw it get bounced right perfectly off of this zone here, which again, is it touching it? No, but it doesn't have to touch it. It's not an exact science, right? And then we push, we're still trading above the VWAP, the moving average, and then I'll take a long position here, and then take profit can be literally right here. And then there's that trade, right? All based upon trend, seeing that zone get bounced off of, and that continuation right there. Again, and I'm not
Okay.
expecting you to understand this in 1 second, but you have to. This is where you just have to practice. Like spend probably like 2 hours if you want to master this, guys. Like really master this, 2 hours a day minimum. Like when I was learning this, guys, I was spending 8 hours a day learning this. Now, again, I was obsessive and probably didn't have a life, and all I did was sit in front of my computer for Monday to Sunday and learning this. But you guys don't have to do that. You guys should have a life, but you guys have to practice it, and you have to ask questions and send screenshots if you don't understand it. So cool. Anything
I
else,
feel
Scarlett?
like I get it, but maybe like I need to practice like identifying
Yeah, you probably get it, but you just haven't practiced it
where.
enough. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like if like a teacher shows you something in class, you might get it, but if you never practiced it, it doesn't make sense. That's why you guys should do hands-on and do it yourself, and then after you do it yourself, ask questions. Because I think learning anything, understand it, and then practicing on your own, right? That's what's going to help you guys become better at trading in general. Doing it by yourself and practicing on your own, right? So you make it
For
look really
example, like
easy. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
like right there on the screen where the your algo has a red, I think it's a line of support.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, wouldn't that be like the bottom of a zone?
Yeah, exactly. So you can see how the zone would be from here to here. There's a zone.
Yes. Okay, I would have marked that.
So,
Okay.
but where my rectangle of the high point, why did I put it here? Because that's the point of where that support is, right? So that's why I told you guys support zones are just 2 levels of support. There's support here, and then there's support right here. So that's why there's a zone right there, right? Resistance, obviously, this is kind of not making sense anymore because it's breaking, but this would be a zone right here. Actually, this kind of works. Look, this is a zone. Before this happened, we can see that resistance. This is actually a miniature level of support. So you can see this is a resistance level. This is support level. Look what happened. Now it's breaking past support, trying to hold above this. So then I would be interested in taking a long position. Again, not right now because it's after hours right here. Because now I want to see that continuation, right? But again, this is a bad example because it's after hours and volume's dead and you wouldn't do that right now. But is that making sense slightly?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, I have a call I have to take at 4 exactly.
No, you're good.
I'm gonna log off.
You're good. I'll see. We're about to end
But
things
see you
here,
guys
but
tomorrow morning.
practice. Yeah, see you later. Scott. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Practice. Of course. Practice this, guys. If you guys don't practice this, you're not gonna get better at it. You say, "I'm make this look really easy, bro." Imagine doing this 8 hours a day, Monday. Like, not even being sarcastic. 8 hours a day, brother. Monday to Sunday, every day for 3 years straight until I mastered it. I think if you did that 8 hours a day, 3 years straight, every day, I think you would pretty much be a genie at it, right? So again, I'm not saying you guys have to spend that much time doing it, but really put in the effort and practice, and then direct message me if you have any questions, okay? But our goal is to identify where buyers and sellers are, right? That's why we have the zones. Identify the trend, so the market direction. That's where trend comes in. And then we have to identify psychology and risk management. That's where leverage and mental comes in. So if we can put all that together and be able to do this every single day, we're good. I'd be stressed out, but bro, time paid off my respect. Yeah, exactly. Right? And then imagine trying to do this in front of like 60, 70, 80 people a day, bro. Right? So it's a lot of practice, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that got into this. But if you guys practice it, you guys can get there, I promise you. All right? But that's it for me. It was recorded. I'll probably upload this video later tonight so you guys can kind of rewatch it, look back on it, ask questions, direct message me if it doesn't make sense. Okay? That's why I'm here. So you have the lesson, you have the material. Now go apply it and then and keep practicing. Cool? But other than that, hope everybody has a beautiful rest of you guys. It's Monday. We have so much trading to do this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We are still trading on Thanksgiving. Okay? Actually, I'll put a vote. Tomorrow morning, I'll ask you guys if you're down to trade Thanksgiving or not. We can skip Thanksgiving if you guys want to. I don't mind. All right? But other than that, have a beautiful rest of you guys. It's Monday night. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning, mañana, for a Tuesday session. And hopefully have another green session. And we'll keep at it. But anyways, good lesson, guys. See you guys tomorrow morning. And take care. Peace.